接下来对阵 RNG 的话，就对阵他们下路我还是比较有信心的吧，因为他们现在估计是状态不太好，又频繁的换了那个 AD， 然后我们下路的话没得换了，就打着咋样就咋样吧，就感觉还是能赢他们。大家感觉现在我判了的话，因为是最近比赛也有赢嘛，所以就比较开心。食堂做的菜也比较好吃，所以吃的比较多。
Ooh, Jin Zhao dropping some mad fire, saying, hey, you know, I think they've been swapping out their bottom lane. They're not too good. Well, you've been down in CS in games 1 and 2, Jin Zhao. Get it together.
I mean, he's been eating a lot recently as well,
Yes,
Dom, so perhaps he has an excuse. There was the second half to that video
exactly
that
right, yeah.
we just felt the need to express that he does eat when he's victorious. So hopefully he's feeling hungry today and they might kick it off in game number 3 correctly.
Well, hey, we're speaking of exactly that. We're getting into game number 3 again between RNG and Bilibili Gaming. Now, both teams have selected red side in their pick and ban. It's BLG's turn to choose once again if they want red or blue. I'm going to try to take a peek downstage. It looks like their lights are red on the stage, but this is still not the situation that we want to see out of RNG. They are on a 0-4 series loss streak. Xiaohu is making some big mistakes in these games that are costing his team huge. And now Bilibili, this is a team that's on an upswing. They've been picking up momentum. They destroyed FPX. They actually took a series against took a game against EDG, or at the very least tried to. And now they could very well take a series against RNG.
Yeah, and as it looks on paper, right, fantastic for BLG. They get, you know, they destroy Fun Plus Phoenix, and now they have RNG for the resume, but they did lose games to Snake. They did lose games to EDG, and by no means do BLG look infallible as a force, as a team. They have showed in this series that they are the superior team fighting team. They've shown that they are very good at calling the shots when they are calling them. RNG on the other side have shown a lot of hesitation when it comes to shot calling. They've shown a lot of, I guess it's just caution.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what it is from RNG, but something is still missing. That spark is still not there, and you're seeing Xiaohu overcompensate for that fact and try his absolute hardest to do that extra mile that RNG does feel to be missing. And I don't think Uzi makes up all of that difference. I feel like Xiaohu and Kasa aren't on the same page. MLXG may make the difference there. RNG have chosen Kasa for this whole set, however. But Abel has looked very good on the opposite side of the coin here for RNG down in the bottom lane. Abel and Ming are doing so much work in the 2v2 and their contributions to team fights and skirmishes that I feel like that has been the biggest saving grace for this roster.
Their early laning phase is really something that BLG are going to have to be conscientious of in game number 1, picking up those early kills because of the somewhat cheesy play from BLG to set themselves up for success. As you can see, Amazing J knocks back the rest of his coffee. He is in the zone. He is ready to try to take this series against RNG because this is business.
Yeah, it's do or die time for both of these teams. Of course, the first game we have of cross-conference play in the LPL, and the only time that these two teams will be playing against each other. We've gone all the way to a game 3.
Now we're going to find out how this series comes to an end, as it's RNG once again on the blue side. BLG have selected red side. And already 2 bans away towards Amazing J. Gangplank, Camille, Zoe banned away from Athena. Kog'Maw banned away from Abel, along with Ryze and Azir on Xiaohu. So despite the mistakes that Xiaohu is making, BLG still respecting the potential of this mid laner.
Oh, of course, you have to respect, and certain champions still have to be focused regarding that respect. Ryze is very easy. You can't miss skill shots when you've got one of them, and you can snare them with your W anyway. But Ryze is super strong, Azir super strong, and Athena would know best. He plays both of those characters. And with that respect, and with the Vladimir actually taken away in the first rotation, preventing it from going to Amazing J, the tides have turned.
Yeah, Zatai taking that in the top lane. You saw the Ornn hover. Amazing J will have to go back into this matchup that he has just taken. We'll see what he decides to opt for, as both top laners took the MVP in Game 1 and then in Game number 2. Zatai in the Game 1 performance on his Cho, and Amazing J off for his Vlad performance in that Game 2. But there's Braum and SKS taking that Rengar again.
And into the Rengar, such is the matchup of this series. It seems Kha'Zix's most likely going to be the option when we see the jungler, no doubt. Things have shifted though from BLG specifically on the opposite side, and it's not just the jungle, it's the earlier priority on the Braum. They first pick it with no Vladimir on the board. They seem to have shifted their focus, and I like that Braum early rotation. And I like how RNG have adapted to that fact, knowing full well what the second ban phase would entail if they hadn't locked that in.
So now we'll see if RNG decide to put that AD carry priority here, or if they decide to give it over to someone else. In Game 1, Abel was a later pick. So again, it looks like they're going to stick to that Game 1 plan. As Kha'Zix is now picked up for Karsa, Abel will have the option of having his champion pool sort of pared down a little bit. BLG, they might have a similar strategy in mind, as Ornn is the hover for Amazing J.
And if Ornn is locked in, we know Amazing J has made some highlight reels with his Ornn, and it is going to be the top laner if they lock it, because Braum's already there, so there's no opportunity for the flex. And with that, a tank in the top lane up against presumably the Vladimir.
Yeah, and again, this is patch 8.1. Both Ornn and Vladimir are still very strong right now. So we're going to be expecting these two to be butting heads as best they can during the game. I'll actually have to get you to talk a little bit more about how that matchup shakes out. Because now BLG, they've got to turn their attention towards Xiaohu and Abel. Xiaohu, critical player for RNG. Not turning up quite so hot in this series. And it looks like BLG, they're content with the bans they've already placed. They're turning their attention towards Abel.
Yeah, of course. The Ezreal taken away from him. Outstanding performance from Abel, deserving of the Ezreal being banned away. But that's one of the AD carries gone. And AD carries are a shared role. Jin Zhao could look towards the Varus in their first rotation, a character we haven't really seen in this set as a priority whatsoever. But alongside that Varus, there are still other AD carry choices. The Kalista that we saw in the last game from Jin Zhao, also a possibility. And because they get the first pick on the red side, they can choose which one they ban and which one they want to pick. And now the ball's in RNG's court for, do we ban the other one? Or do we just ban another mid laner and try and get a winning matchup in that part?
Interesting to see the Kalista now banned away from Abel. And now RNG, as you said, they're looking at Athena, they're looking at Jin Zhao, and they're trying to gauge which of these are more of a threat coming into this Game 3. This final match, the decider. Looks like it is a Cassiopeia ban, so respecting Athena in this mid lane. Now, this would be quite interesting if Jin Zhao decides to take this Tristana Braum. Great for taking choice. Turrets.
One of the few remaining long-ranged carries that are still there. We haven't seen any Twitch. Varus, while still a very good option for wave control, Braum does compensate. Trist can also push exceptionally well, so
it still fits Jin Zhao's style of playing a scaling AD carry.
Yeah.
So his early game, again, might be at the mercy of Abel. Caitlyn is open, and that is the largest range mismatch of AD carries.
Certainly is. They could go towards the Caitlyn. They have an abundance of damage already, so if utility's the choice, then you know you've got these options such as the Xayah for kiting backwards. On the flip side, BLG have only got one real damage threat there with the Tristana as late game goes. Rengar's pretty good for the early and mid. Their mid laner still may want to be a damage dealer, so we might not see the Galio or anything like that as a big focus from Athena, whereas RNG, I mean, you could consider the Galio.
They're certainly thinking about it. 5 seconds left on the timer. Oh, all right. Poppy top for Zatai. Look at that, nodding his head. He's got it. He knows what he's up against. The Ornn for Amazing J. Vladimir going into the mid lane. That does mean Athena will get counterpick into this Vladimir.
And Vladimir is one of those champions in the mid lane that you can't always push out of lane, sure, but he's not strong early by any means. It takes a while to ramp up. He gets stronger with levels specifically. And a character like Kassadin, which has been locked in for Athena, is very good at getting through those early levels against the Vladimir himself. Super long cooldown spells between the two of them. And the closer they get to 6, the happier Athena will be.
Also a bit of a challenge from Athena. He saw the champion that he was just up against in the previous game and said, huh, that's good. I think I'll take that. And now uses it here in this Game 3. Rusty, we've got our compositions locked in. RNG 2 and 4. And BLG 4 and 2 in wins and losses. In any other world but 2018 Spring, you would say RNG are favored against this lineup, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah, well, RNG are currently 6th place on the ladder, Dom, so they're definitely not favorites coming into any set currently based off their recency with performance. But coming into this third game, it's very hard not to say that they're the favorites based off the performance of game number 1 and 2. specifically if we take this set in a vacuum.
Now the fans are getting ready for their final cheer. This is the last time these teams will play unless they meet each other in playoffs until summer. As Zitai, going for the Poppy swap at the last second, knows he's going to have a big impact in this game along with Karsa to try to upset BLG here.
We have to start with the Poppy first and foremost, as that's a bit of a pick out of nowhere. I believe we've seen one other Poppy in the LPL as well, and it looked decent. There was a couple of super hype plays around the Baron, if my mind does not deceive me, but didn't get the victory. And Poppy, one of the more abstract champions that we haven't seen a whole lot of in League of Legends recently, but we have in the past, and everyone knows what Poppy does, just being that super tank, that super disruptive tank at that. But picking this up, Zitai, in his second ever competitive game for RNG, competitive series, goes for something abstract, and I wonder if he's even been practicing it, or if this is the only thing he's been practicing.
Yeah, well, we're certainly going to find out. It's awfully late in the series to bust it out, but hey, if he thinks it'll close out the series and take the big W for RNG, then more power to him. But ladies and gentlemen, we have loaded onto the Rift for the final game of this series.
See if the crowd can actually keep up to scratch with games 1 and 2. I know every game's a little bit more exciting.
Certainly a smaller crowd for BLG, but no less passionate, matching the volume nearly for RNG. Still showing that they have got the support for their team. They believe that they can pull off the miracles through thick and thin. I love how I'm having this conversation while Amazing J is dancing in the brush.
He's a believer.
It certainly is. And look at that. Airy for the Poppy, going up against Grasp of the Undying for this Ornn.
So Ornn going Grasp of the Undying, of course, he's into a tank matchup. Traditionally, you won't see Grasp of the Undying for any Ornns in the top lane because most people are playing Gangplank or Vladimir into Ornn. So you very rarely get an opportunity to see Grasp of the Undying, but because he's into a tank, because he's into a melee tank as well, it's actually very easy to proc this spell. And of course, Grasp of the Undying gives percentage bonus max HP. Oh, sorry, not percentage, that would be insane. He gets bonus max HP every single time he procs it. I am about to cough. I'm not going, I'm going to hold on to it.
I'll cover you there, as both of our junglers are now starting out on that top side of the map.
But he can go Grasp of the Undying in this matchup just because it's easier to proc it. On the opposite side, though, it's an Airy for Zitai. And now playing Poppy, you only have small amounts of poke. There is nothing significant really there. Of course, the Q that you place down will proc twice. And I think that's actually what he's looking towards. In a similar vein to why Ornn can go Grasp of the Undying in this top lane 1v1, a Poppy can go summon Airy, because he's able to apply much more poke down from the melee versus melee matchup.
Of course, being able to toss out that shield passive every few minions, quite helpful if you don't use it to last hit. But Amazing J is already backing up Scorch, Celerity, Nullifying Orb.
Yep, Nullifying Orb to get rid of some magic damage. Scorch and Celerity makes sense, move speed and extra damage. Pretty standard.
Good double knock-up. Road puts the shield up as our junglers have met in the river. SKS using his ferocity to trade back with Karsa instead of get health, and that means Karsa now has this priority on the Scuttle Crab, and SKS has to slink his way back into his jungle.
Yeah, and as the jungle starts out with the 1v1 between the duelists, as they often find each other fated to fight against one another, it does mean that not only is it the Scuttle Crab for Karsa, but he's pretty aware of where SKS is going to go next. Level 3. At that time in the game, to be at the Scuttle means that he hasn't done his Wolves or he hasn't done his Gromp, one or the other, and he's going to be there. So Karsa, you're currently watching his movements. He goes from Raptors straight through mid lane, takes the inside track up towards the enemy Raptors, knowing that either they're available or there is a Rengar there, and I won that last trade, so I can find him.
He's spotted out by a zombie ward from BLG, though Athena is pushed in, Amazing J is pushed in, and while SKS is on his way, Karsa's still going to try his luck. No smite for either of them as SKS leaps out of the brush to reclaim his own Raptors.
Yeah, Karsa's just trying to sneak in there before the fact. He doesn't actually want to duel SKS in a 1v1, especially not after there was a recall for the Rengar, and he gets the jump onto the Raptors, but stealing what he can under the nose of SKS.
That was awesome. You can minion dematerializer, the minion that's being teleported on, to destroy it instantly.
The teleport continues.
It does. It finishes channeling. We just saw that from Athena jumping into the mid lane. That just blew my mind. If you save a charge late game, you could prevent a siege or something like that.
That's very item slot inefficient.
Yes,
But
it absolutely is. You're correct.
I totally understand what you're saying. The real value of it, however, Dom, it's not in the late game.
Yeah.
It's in the early game when someone's trying to be that guy that teleports to the minion that you're actually trying to kill before you recall, and it saves you a bit of tempo in the mid lane, and that's all that Dematerializer is about. It's about mid lane tempo and having control.
Wow, Vladimir's certainly going to be able to pick up some tempo early on during the laning phase, though Athena's actually up in levels because his wave is pushed in. You just saw a second roam from Ming towards the mid lane to drop a control ward and keep his mid lane safe.
You know, you mentioned the bottom lane, and we've mentioned the Materializer in the mid lane for Xiaohu, but the bottom lane of RNG also has two of them themselves, and you very rarely see it on Ming, or I should say on a support running Dematerializer. The only ones that I've ever seen have it are tank supports, and it's because it's very hard to step up to a wave if you run the risk of taking needless damage and dying. And so both the Braum and the Alistar have picked it up in this game. It guarantees you cannons, and it also means that you're not going to take as much damage, so you're more healthy for the trades.
Yeah, and of course with the double Targons meta, they both have ways to guarantee that they share the gold across each other. Junglers skirmishing around the river, just sparring over vision. Karsa is going to get the early ward, another zombie ward to make sure he's got plenty of wards on that side. Even watching Ming shadow in the river while Abel is getting his recall for a very early BF sword.
I'm a very big fan of what Zatai has been doing top lane, though, in the meanwhile, Dom, by going towards not only the Airy, but the Corrupting Potion, is winning the 1v1 against Amazing J after Amazing J is able to shop in lane. So it is still going to force the recall by the health trades that he's getting. It's actually very cute stuff from the Poppy of RNG.
Yeah, double recall from both of those top laners. No level 6 yet for Amazing J. Trading is so difficult against that Poppy, even when you do have the likes of the Ornhorn available. And looks like RNG are taking a different pace here in this Game 3. They're the ones who are looking for tempo.
They're looking
pushing
for
top,
lanes.
pushing mid, pushing bottom.
Yeah, it's not just the pushing either, it's the CS advantages they're getting from all of this at the same time. Azaya, Alistar are pushing in a Tristana Braum. 12 CS in advantage down there, 9 in the top lane, also 9 in the mid lane. Xiaohu starts to ramp up, as Athena has hit 6 now, but before this point, the Vladimir has some control. I think for BLG, things start to turn just a little bit more very soon, especially when SKS hits level 6 on his Rengar and has kill threat anywhere he wants on the Rift.
Level 5 right now, finishing off his red buff will put him close to Xiaohu, going
What a
very deep
Absolute
to
menace.
deny the recall, making sure he burns every last drop of mana that Athena has.
But that's so well done from Xiaohu because there's no teleport from Athena. So the Kassadin being forced to recall and being forced back again from that far away as a wave is crashing onto the turret. It's actually picturesque for the Vladimir.
Just feels bad. Perhaps RNG might be returning to that style of the summer split of 2017. Just taking those more aggressive steps. They're already nearly 1,000 gold ahead, 7.5 minutes in just from the laning phase. And look at that vision all across the bottom side of the map. 1, 2, 3 control wards, plus a zombie and 4 normal wards.
None of this is translated into kills on the board just yet, nor objectives. However, they've got about 2 to 3 kills worth of gold sitting there from the gold advantage, as you mentioned. If they continue along this exact train of thought, if you actually continue to accelerate the game and you end up 4 or 5 kills worth of gold ahead, can actually mean a significant amount with itemization. And because every lane is winning, every lane will hit item spikes first. And if every lane does that first, then there's a very real chance that you just force objectives. And the Ocean Drake's a pretty nice one to get as the first of the game.
We've talked about how BLG thrive with tempo. If they're able to pick up the pace and clean the clocks of their opponents, it's a very scary thing. The same strategy we saw them use against FPX, where SKS was all up in the face of Pepper. But this time, Karsa's matching him. He's dropping so many wards, moving that ward line. There is not a single dark spot in that river for RNG.
Oh no, they've got it completely littered with vision. It just allows Karsa, once again, playing the Kha'Zix. He's got a lot of damage isolated towards targets like the Drake. So super easy to lock this one down if no one's going to contest him. But it's not the Drake that BLG are looking at. You're seeing SKS in the mid lane. Doesn't use the ultimate, but the threat is very much there.
He's sitting on that flash, rocking Electrocute. As he steps forward into the river, he's spotted, but the dragon has just been taken. Even the honey fruit to top himself off. As that's actually Hemo play coming in from the top side. It's Zatai. Athena flashes away, but Karsa's there to finish the kill. First blood, Xiaohu.
They pick up the first blood into the mid lane. Athena with no flash has got the teleport to get back to lane, but they are making this Kassadin suffer. The CS advantage continues to grow for Xiaohu. And that's the team-fighting mid laner of the Vladimir compared to the split-pushing team-fighting hybrid of a Kassadin. It means that RNG's win conditions mid to late game become much more obvious, much more prevalent, that they just find the 5v5 or they get a pick first. And that's what happens when you have control of everywhere on the map. The ability to just leave your lane is unparalleled.
Yeah, Zatai walking from the top lane, not teleporting, just walking. 380 move speed on this Poppy with brown bags. And then the flank from Karsa following up after that dragon to finish it off. Nowhere for Athena to go.
Yeah.
Now he teleports back into the mid lane. BLG. Looks like they might be confused at the RNG that showed up here in game number 3.
It's just a lot of lane pressure, and I don't know if that pressure is able to be answered by BLG anytime soon. When you actually step back and look at the whole draft holistically, Tristana isn't exceptionally strong very early on. At least not compared to Azaya. I'd say they're relatively equal. They just both push very well. And then you look at mid lane, Kassadin doesn't stand out as one of these crazy early game champions. He wants to scale. Ornn in the top lane can push, but I don't think that pushing really results in anything when Poppy's killing you instead. So he can't push. And if every lane starts losing, you're seeing that start to get reflected ever so slightly through the gold values. Most of it is mid lane currently.
Yeah, Xiaohu 1,100 gold ahead of Athena. Abel just about 200 gold ahead of Jinzhao. Zatai still keeping even with Amazing J, so great job from Amazing J to not let himself get punished too much.
But it's not even about him getting punished. That's the big takeaway from all of this. It's that Zatai contributed to mid lane. It's that Zatai is going to be the first to contribute to everything that they look to take.
How did Karsa get there? Look at all of the vision on that side of the map.
Well,
he has dropped so many wards. And even though BLG have got the Scuttle Crab, they think that this side of the map is safe. Karsa is just punishing them for that. Now, Road and SKS, they smell something a little fishy. They're going to sneak into that river.
They knew something was up, and once again, RNG knowing that Zatai will be there first, there was a bit of confidence from Karsa. SKS has also popped his ultimate. But because the numbers are here for BLG, they're going to try their luck.
Ming steps forward. He's going to get the knock-up. Catches SKS midair. He's sprinting for the brush. Finally catches up. Xiaohu flashes forward. Hemo play gets the kill.
That was a lot of damage.
And they're continuing to chase forward. Road, not slowed, walks to his turret, survives.
They just absolutely smashed SKS and destroyed his health bar. All of this for their Herald. RNG now continue to push forwards into the middle lane. They've got a minion wave. They've got Abel as well. Everybody is here, and they are trying to siege.
Yeah, there's not a lot of wave clear. Keeper's Verdict slings Athena away from that turret, and the Tier 1 is broken. 12 minutes in, RNG are picking up the pace, Rusty.
SKS trying to get out, just headbutted a brick wall of Ming as well. That's why the first target goes down, and it's not even that RNG are doing anything exceptional right now. They're playing very good League of Legends, especially if we compare and contrast to games 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Even after winning game number 1, this looks significantly more clean. Xiaohu's pressure in the mid lane, with Zatai's pressure in the top lane, with Karsa's aggressive decisions to take the objectives this time around. He's not hesitating, he's not waiting. It feels like he's found his footing and he has warmed up. And with Abel being there first and no Jinzhao in sight, RNG just look like a team and BLG just don't look like a team.
A collection of players versus a team of 5. RNG finally finding some momentum here in this game. 3,000 gold ahead of BLG as they're going to pick up their items fresh out of the base. Essence Reaver completed. Frost Queen's Claim. Upgraded Tracker's Knife for Karsa, as he's just so happy he can take this blue buff. Level 8 to the level 9 of SKS, who has been hunting for experience, but Karsa's still all over the map. He took the Ocean Dragon. He started the Rift Herald that springboarded RNG into that mid-play. And now, with all of the vision across the map, RNG can pick and choose whatever they like from what's next.
And we've accelerated to about 3,000 in the lead for RNG, and it's a substantial number at 13 minutes in the game. So you have to take a step back and look at it from BLG's perspective. You know, what's next for us? How do we even find a way into this game? And Tristana still not even close to her completed items, so she is behind Abel in terms of strength. They need to farm in the AD carry role. Athena definitely wants to keep farming in the mid lane to try and stay relevant, and has a hard time dealing with the wave clear and pressure of their opponents. No longer even has a turret, so Xiaohu's unlocked. Athena is reliant on teleport. He can no longer use it to get to lane. So.
You can see how respectful he's being. He sees the Kha'Zix, sees the Vladimir in the mid lane, and decides, you know what, I think I'll take the long way around. Despite the fact that he's a champion who can leap over walls on, what is it, a 6-second cooldown at level 1?
Yeah. The only person that's really relevant now on the side of BLG is the top half of the map without mid lanes. So you're looking at SKS and Amazing J. Amazing J's got his completed first item, so he's got armor, he's relatively tanky. SKS on the opposite side next to him in the jungle role has got a completed jungle item and a phage as well, so he can stick onto targets. But then when you look at what BLG's tanks can do against RNG, I mean, Xayah diffuses the Rengar, so they have a lot of answers still there.
They certainly do. And while Amazing J certainly is doing his best to hold his ground in the top half of the map, you can see he's starting to slowly but surely slip away in that CS, as that's actually a teleport bottom. Abel,
Just Abel.
The classic.
Just 80 carries. It's no longer a surprise anymore.
Yeah.
When that goes away and you see a teleport bottom, usually it's exciting, but
There's something happening.
not anymore.
SKS leaping onto the control ward, finishes it off. Decides he doesn't want to take the Rift Herald, but Karsa's already a step ahead
and that's
of him.
a second Ocean Drake as well, so the regeneration for RNG starts to get better and better. And it's a worse and worse omen for BLG, obviously, on the opposite side of the coin here. BLG have really good vision around the Herald, so they'll see RNG if they ever go near the area. But I don't think that's really the ultimate plan of RNG at all. In fact, they don't need to touch the Herald unless it's a free objective. They should stay bottom, continue to push. If a Tristana is still being, like, Static Shiv Tristana has almost lost a turret to a Xayah. That says a lot.
Yeah, Jin Zhao not quite able to live up to the words that he said before this game against Abel. Swapping their bottom lane might have been a deficit before, but Abel consistently getting a CS advantage in these games. Showing up in these team fights to open up for his team and take those early turrets as well. But still, 16 minutes in, it's only about a 3k gold advantage. RNG have not found anything outside of that Ocean
This
Dragon.
is all they need to do, RNG. Like, the advantage doesn't seem to be there, but it's a stone's throw away from being there. Xiaohu disappeared. He didn't even walk bottom. Look at where he is on the minimap as well, but the turret's free because Jin Zhao's petrified. There is no way that a Tristana could stand there or he will die if Xiaohu even gets close and closes that distance. Look at BLG's vision on the blue side of their own jungle. None of that is offensive. All of it is in their own jungle. They are so afraid of RNG that the win condition for BLG is to just hold on for the ride and just hope that the ride crashes and they get an opportunity to make a play.
Well,
Maybe
RNG,
scream a few times as well. That's exciting.
RNG are the train conductors of this game, and they are setting a strong pace. Now turning towards the Rift Herald, already taking the earlier Dragon. You can see Abel and Ming hanging out on that bottom side of the map, playing defensive, knowing that their team is making a play on the other side. As Xiaohu holds on to Athena in the mid lane. Hemo Plague, along with Sanguine Pool, gets him to safety.
Just get some extra health back from the Hemo Play. He's going to stay at full and just recall. Of course, Unsealed Spellbook means that if he ever needs, he can change out those summoner spells, but by having a Flash and Ghost ready already, and he's very much inclined to team fighting and should not be changing them anytime soon unless needed.
But now we're 17.5 minutes into the game. The next big objective is that top tier 1, and Rift Herald is in Karsa's back pocket. He's ready to drop that just about anywhere he goes. And we'll see how RNG decide to prioritize this, because in game 1, they focused bottom lane. Karsa used that Rift Herald rather aggressively in the mid lane, if I'm actually remembering correctly.
It was timed out, to be fair, so he just had to use it.
But it was the push towards that bottom tier 2 that RNG prioritized in game 1 when they had the momentum, when they had that advantage. They've already broken the bottom tier 1. Do they look for the same thing again, or?
I mean, when you look at the things that have to change for RNG, the first problem that we had with them so far in this series was lane assignments and the timing of those lane assignments. So right now, Xayah's still bottom lane. Alistar's rotating towards mid, and last time we saw RNG with an early game advantage like this, they all just went to mid lane, and they seem to want to isolate Zatai and Amazing J. I feel like the reason for this is to not let Amazing J contribute to team fights at all because of how good he is and how important he is for the team fights. So they try and separate that. They try and cause a 1v1 in the top lane, a duel. Poppy's also very good at cancelling teleports with the ultimate and with the dash. So
also
maybe
pretty
that's
hilarious against SKS, when the Rengar leaps out and Poppy just drops the aura.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, very good at
That
denying
is
games.
one of the best sound effects in the entire game.
The clonk.
The gong.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so there's the Rift Herald bottom, looking for that tier 2. RNG grouped up as 4. They brought Xiao, who Karsa's right behind them. The wave crashes in, and there's nothing BLG can do. The tier 2 is broken.
The Tristana pick is starting to become a very real problem for the side of BLG. It's contributed nothing, and unfortunately for them, it's a Kassadin in the middle lane as well. They don't have the Azir. They don't have the wave clear that was usually present for them through Athena. So they're just losing in too many places at once. The gold lead continues to stretch, and you're just left wondering, when do BLG find anything?
Well, they're still looking. Eventually, a blind squirrel finds an acorn. Question is that going to be in this game or the next series for BLG? Because yes, they've got time, they're scaling, they've got the Kassadin, they've got the Tristana. Something tells me RNG might have learned their lessons from Game 1 and Game 2. Might not be so patient and respectful to allow BLG that Hail Mary opportunity. As I say this, Xiaohu walks into Athena and potentially Road.
I don't think Xiaohu's too afraid of anything. He'll just walk at everybody at the moment. 2 completed items, the second of that being a Banshee's Veil, so magic damage not the biggest problem for him. And between Road and Athena, there I have oodles of magic damage.
Absolute oodles.
Great word.
Now Karsa's
They've
actually
just started
rushing
Baron.
onto the Baron. 20 minutes and 15 seconds. Road knows something's up. Immediately drops a ward over the wall, but there's still 4
Teleport's
people there.
already in.
Yeah,
They actually
Amazing
don't
Jay,
want this.
He's on the way. Call of the Forge God is ready. Athena's teleporting in as well, but look at the Baron. 2,500 health. Here comes BLG. That's the Call of the Forge God. Smite allows Karsa to secure it. They turn onto Road and Athena. Good knockup, buys some time, but these two are in for the ride of their lives if they want to escape from this one. Xiaohu leads the charge. Road over the wall. Xiaohu
Looks like
falls with the
BLG want
tides
to
of
fight,
blood.
though.
And he gets it. Amazing Jay turns and backs now that Road is dead. It's Baron and a kill for RNG.
If Road lived a couple of seconds longer, I have a feeling that BLG were going to try their best at getting a team fight available, just because Jin Zhao had finally made his way to the fray. But no, the Baron was already gone, the pick was already secured, and RNG just grow ever stronger through this consecutive advantageous plays that they're able to make now, with no response available from their opponents.
That's a 6,000 gold lead. Rusty Zatai might finally be able to break down that top tier 1, but here's how it all starts.
And Call of the Forge God was very close to taking this one away as well, but good ultimate from Zatai, smite secure from Karsa, and Ming also with his eyes on the prize. He doesn't look towards the Baron, he doesn't need to, so he goes straight towards the picks. And a ghost on Xiaohu means that it's very difficult to actually escape the Vlad. Lots of damage coming out of him as well, given how far ahead he is.
Top tier 1 finally broken. In the meanwhile, RNG took that Infernal Dragon. That's what you saw on the bottom of your screen there. And now they're continuing to push up. Look at the wave clear. Phantom Dancer, Essence Reaver from Abel. He is chunking through that turret along with Zatai. The rest of his team isn't quite ready to support him, so they have to back away. But Xiaohu, he's splitting mid. There's no one to defend this. Athena is at blue buff, I believe.
I just don't think anyone's ready to deal with what RNG are throwing at them. And we keep saying when, but I don't know if when's ever possible from the side of BLG. They're just not here to play in game number 3.
The clock keeps on getting pushed back for BLG's late game, but RNG continue to push the timer. Looking now for this tier 2. Good wave clear from Jin Zhao. He's able to finally clear away those Baron minions. As Zatai,
Abel
stunned and chunked, but still happy with that. Like you said, Abel takes a hit. Double Ocean, Rusty.
Takes about 6 hits as well, just trying to tank some health for his tank. Trying to prevent it. As you do, you know, as an AD carry, that really shows the hierarchy of this team currently.
Yeah.
Abel's also swapped out to a Ghost. Ming has swapped out to a Ghost. We have 3 Ghost flashes. They want him.
Abel is such low health, takes to the skies, leaps over the Call of the Forge God. Amazing Jay pinned against the wall. Look at the damage, though Abel goes low. Amazing Jay is able to retreat. Meanwhile, Xiaohu coming in from the flank. He's found 3 members that he does not want. Heals himself back up
full health.
and continues to go in. Great knockup prevents Ming from going in.
That was such a good ultimate from Road to deny Ming's engage. That was a flash headbutt pulverize combo that was just cancelled by Braum's ultimate. But still, in the end of the day, they're able to push top lane. They will get themselves the structure. And all of the defiance that we're seeing from BLG is desperation. It's defense. There is no offense.
Now that's 3 tier 2s broken for BLG. 6 turrets to 0, 3 dragons to 0, 3 kills to 0. RNG, 24 minutes in, are looking at a perfect game, but BLG, Certainly it's not for lack of trying.
A better way for Retribution than a perfect game against BLG starting off cross-conference. Could be the beginning of a new RNG.
Yeah, something desperately needed. Again, RNG, they are on a 4-series loss streak. It looks like they're finally here to play in the LPL, and BLG are the poor recipients of a very angry bear.
And with the rest of the map still completely theirs for the taking, unfortunately for RNG, what is left is inside the base of Bilibili. And if any team in the world can hold onto their base for an extended period of time, it's either BLG or WE.
Yeah, I was expecting that. Yeah.
Those two are very good at it. And if any team's used to losing and then holding onto their base for upwards of 20 minutes, it's BLG. And it's all on RNG in that respect. You know, their team composition with a Poppy, with a Zaya, even with an Alistar as well as the Vladimir can dive very successfully. They're very capable of doing that, and that's something that we're going to have to look towards here. Athena playing the Kassadin, probably going to just try his absolute hardest to 1-3-1. Going to try and split push his way to victory and control side waves. RNG may only have 2 waves to choose from.
Yeah, it looks like that's mid and bottom for the time being. Abel preps the wave while Xiaohu pushes in mid along with Zatai. And now they're looking towards an inhibitor on my way ping from BLG. Static Shiv, Infinity Edge, and a Zeal for Jin Zhao. So he's able to chunk these minions apart if they crash onto that turret. It's up to Zatai to keep those minions standing.
And I think you will have to be looking towards a dive here. Alistar excels as it with the ultimate. Of course, Xiaohu with the Sanguine Pool. Zatai, by ulting away tanks, actually opens up capabilities. And usually they just heli poppy and never throw it.
There he goes. They're actually going to knock Road out of this, but immediately Call of the Forge God knocks up 3. They're rushing down the turret, though. Thrill of the Hunt is chasing, and Ming is at low health. SKS on the side does not find an avenue of entry.
He knows that he can't go forwards when all of them have backed away, but here comes the 2 Ocean Drakes, and Ming's also allowed to get those minions. Take note, solo queue, it's actually important. You guys are all menaces. And now they're going to continue to push again.
Yeah, wave crashes in. Here they go. Xiaohu leads the charge. As you said, the Sanguine Pool allows for him to escape. Hemoplague, but the turret's already down. Trying to heal up, but he's stunned. Look at the health. Nearly 1,000 off a tick. Unbreakable Will onto Ming. Ticks and allows him to survive the blast. A good knockback. Gets Abel out of the fight. But it's not going to be able to get Zatai. He continues to chase forward as Jin Zhao leaps away. Athena steps forward and does not find anything. Xiaohu with the Zanyas buys time for his team to break the inhib.
Athena playing with fire, does get away and has to use the flash. However, the inhibitor is going to drop down, and there we go. One piece of the base completely broken. A 10,000 gold lead now grows for RNG, with a Baron up in 50 seconds, with a Mountain Drake up in 50 seconds, and the map belonging completely to them. Pick of the litter. You'd expect them to actually pick up both in the end, unless BLG resort to a trade of just a Mountain Drake for a Baron.
Well, BLG are getting close to that level 16 Kassadin that you mentioned in the previous game. Athena's got his Lich Bane, no Zanyas, so he's all in for these fights.
In this case, I think that the level 16 Kassadin's role is split pushing, just like hardcore.
Okay,
instead of doing any kind of team fighting like we attempted to see from Xiaohu in game number 2.
And that's why we do see him with the teleport. Immediately he goes bottom to push out against that super minion wave and buy time for his team. But like you said, Baron, 10 seconds. Mountain Dragon, 10 seconds. And RNG, I think we can see what their priority is. Already on the top half of the map, Ming leads the charge to set up some vision. SKS.
Hello.
Pinned, knocked up, flash. The snare doesn't even need to hit, as Karsa even follows up to get the kill.
Very confident in the damage that they're able to deal, RNG, and SKS is caught wandering in the jungle by himself. That's the smite missing now, and there goes your chance of stealing away the Baron. So as expected, and as predicted, of course, it'll just be a Mountain Drake traded for the Baron itself. But then RNG get the consolation prize on top of all of that. They get the +1 of a dead Rengar.
BLG denying the perfect game as well by taking that Mountain Dragon. But Ming, with the decisive call, finds SKS blind in the jungle, kills him, and allows his team to take the Baron. This is the shot calling we've been looking for these past few weeks. It took game 3 against BLG to draw it out.
Yeah.
Now with the Baron, RNG pushing up against the base. Super Minions shoving bottom. This is a ticking time bomb for BLG. The clock is running out.
Next wave. Maybe even this wave, as you can see it crashing on the bottom side. RNG, I would actually predict they go mid lane above all else. There's no minions set up top, but they're actually going to siege it all at once. They're not going to overexert themselves. They're not going to overcommit towards forcing a turret. They'll just let the minions do the work for them through bottom. It's drawn the attention of Athena as the wave crashes top. Mistimed, they'll still get damage on it at the very least.
There's Call of the Forge God, Abel. Ooh, leaps despite the knockup being targeted at Ming. Those Zatai and Xiaohu will finish off the middle inhibitor turret. Still, super minions pushing bottom. Athena has to respond, allowing Zatai and Xiaohu to continue pushing.
And all it takes now from RNG is a grouping up as 5, a collective unit walking into the middle lane to take apart the second inhibitor of the game. Good respect from Abel to use the ultimate, whether it was aimed at him or not. He uses it early, he uses it to dodge, so that he will stay alive and he will stay healthy for this next wave.
Jin Zhao's trying to hold down the fort on his own, but his team isn't there. He's knocked up and back in. That's a stopwatch to try to buy time, but his time is up. Leap and a flash is actually going to allow him to escape. No one from BLG has died yet, and there they go. The Kassadin drops first. SKS retreats to his base. Karsa on the hunt will finish off Jin Zhao, and RNG, blades at the ready, are aimed at the heart of BLG, looking to close out this series.
Teleports in as well. They definitely want to end it here, Dom. There should be no opportunity for BLG to hold on.
Redemption to top themselves off. The 2 Nexus turrets go down. Xiaohu flashes over the wall, even goes into the fountain for the dive, and escapes with his life despite the knockup. They still can't kill Ming, and it's RNG with their first series win in 5 whole series.
You can see the signs in the crowd, and there should be some relief on the faces of RNG as well. Finally getting that victory. Something that may aid towards getting them out of 6th place in their group, which is where they have been stuck at the start of cross-conference. Well-deserved victory in the end from RNG with their performance in game number 3, and you're only left wondering what happened to BLG when they went backstage. How did they get the victory and then just not really show up to play in the 3rd game compared to what we've seen from them? But you have to credit a lot of it to RNG, not even BLG.
Yeah, it's still there for RNG. And you just saw Karsa hand on the shoulders of Abel, the new AD carry for RNG. The substitute coming in with a big performance is able to keep himself down. And now Ming as well, looking awfully relieved that his team has finally made their way back on the board. 3 and 4 overall for Royal Never Give Up.
And the bottom lane had a fantastic series, all things considered. Abel and Ming showed up massively when it was needed. A couple of misplays from the rest of the map ultimately didn't matter too much in the end. They still get the W, and that's what counts the most. Xiaohu did not have one of his best sets, but in game number 3 looked completely unstoppable, and it's closer to the Xiaohu that we all know and love.
Yeah. Coach coming out with some big congratulations as well. Great job from Karsa and Zatai to hold down the fort for him. Zatai with a particularly big smile. I've always got a special place in my heart for Poppy, just because she is so adorable and an absolute menace when you're playing the champion.
Yeah, Poppy's definitely a menace. And Zatai in his 2nd ever series in the LPL as a top laner for RNG just casually picks that one up, of course. Shows
against
his
Amazing
depth of
J.
champion pool.
Yeah, against Amazing J of all people. Not just Amazing J, but Amazing J's Ornn, keeping him pushed under the turret. I think you identified during the fights, during the game, that he prevented Amazing J from doing effectively anything until he was already back at his inhibitor turrets.
Yeah, confident play coming out of the top laner of RNG, just with champion picks, let alone play style, and he executes on it exceptionally well, gets them the control in the top lane 1v1. Karsa also had a lot more control in the jungle in game 3 as well. So every individual member, I know we said it a million times during the game, but it was just that clean cut, just that simple. RNG won everywhere, and there was no opportunity for BLG to respond to it besides something that felt desperate almost from the get-go. And just like that, the game basically ended. RNG looked superior in almost every way.
Yeah, well, BLG, they might have been looking for the miracle play, but they did not get the chance, though our analysts are now ready to break it down.
Thank you so much, Dom. And this very much does start in the champion select, going off the back of what Rusty was saying there, that they kind of just won all those lanes and Karsa could do whatever he wanted in the top side. A lot of that did go down to Dom's favorite pick, apparently, Poppy in the top side. And while we didn't get to see a lot of that laning phase, somehow managed to get priority in top side, continue pushing into the Ornn in that matchup, and then somehow Karsa's just able to push in top side.
Yeah, Clement, you and I were all putting our heads together because we've...
It was like a CSI investigation. We were trying to discover it from the fact
we
that
really wanted to see
footage.
what happened in the early lane phase, but we were kind of talking about the interactions of the Ws, the fact that if if Ornn, why did I say Ron? If Ornn goes unstoppable and tries to charge forward, and then Poppy charges forward, they would just cancel each other out or neutralize each other. But nonetheless, the fact that he got priority open to the top side, was even cheating down towards the mid lane and getting involved in that first blood between Karsa, Xiaohu, and Poppy. You know, you got Xiaohu, who's diving behind tier 1 towers, zoning off 20 CS from the mid lane. You've got Xayah in the bot lane just dominating that lane, and then Poppy keeping Ornn under tower and cheating mid lane. Like, no wonder RNG ran away with this early game.
Yeah, it turned into a very airtight game, honestly, coming out from RNG, because it was very low kill. We didn't see a bunch of fights. It was just down to like picks, skirmishes, objectives, and very much a controlled game from RNG. And this is the first time that we've really seen this type of RNG from the team so far. And it was with a very different roster. Of course, we had Karsa, we had Zatai coming in, but then all of this could change as soon as Chinese New Year hits. So we could see once again another different RNG.
And that's the big question. It's now about schedule, because we will be broadcast Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but it's like, then there's this massive break of 2 weeks for Chinese New Year. What iteration of RNG comes back? Do they come back with Zatai and Karsa? Does MLXG rejoin the roster? We assume that Uzi's going to be there. And how does that dramatically affect the team? So while I'm happy for RNG that they don't go into kind of their big extended break, because this will be the last time we see them before Chinese New Year, like on a loss, at the same time, there's still almost just as many questions. It wasn't the cleanest series. There was very inconsistent performances between game 1 to game 2 to game 3. You could still see those kernels of like, Ming is a god tier Alistar player. We always knew that Zatai was a great Poppy player, so it goes back to that comfort pick, you know, back when he used to play the top lane. But there wasn't anything new, there wasn't anything developed. And maybe that makes sense because they are just taking it easy into the break. But right now their record has really suffered, and they're starting in a very big hole that they're going to have to climb out as soon as they hit the ground running back on the other side of Chinese New Year.
But we did see playtime from Karsa, because up until this point, he's actually doubled the amount of games that he's played so far in the first 3 weeks of play, coming now into week 4. Zatai also getting more playtime into the top lane. So if RNG are really looking to experiment with this time, that was the way to do it, to actually give them a full series instead of taking the knee jerk and it's like, oh, we lost game 2, let's just sub in a different AD carry, let's sub in a different top lane and jungle. So they actually played out the entire series, and I feel like they did adapt well from each game. Like, while game 2 was very messy, it seemed like they kept on just digging to see what they would find. But in game 3, as you said, the draft changed, and that changed how they played in game.
Which is why I feel like the biggest change from all of these series was actually in Heart, and not necessarily the players' performances. You know, Heart was the standing coach for them during their spring final against Team WE. Firefox unfortunately fell ill. Heart's been an analyst with the team for a very long time, so while he is transitioning into the coaching position and Firefox has leapfrogged up into the general manager position, RNG, it shouldn't have been this large of a growing pain that it was.
Yeah, now off the back of that victory, we are going to hear from Karsa, however, in the jungle role, courtesy of Clement. Going to send it over to the interview.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and with me right now is the victorious Karsa. Karsa, 你可以跟大家打声招呼吗？
大家好，我是那个 RNG 代理 Karsa。
三强是闪电，是不是？
三强，三强。
Okay, so you guys, congratulations on your victory so far, but we have to ask one of the harder questions is, why has RNG been put into a 0-4 slump, and how did you guys manage to climb out of it? 就 Karsa， 恭喜你目前的今天的一个胜利，但是我们还是必须要问，为什么 RNG 会4连跪？那你们今天又是怎么样去回归你们以前的状态呢？
我觉得会4连跪主要就是我们个人实力状态都就是这已经有点问题吧，就是然后教练一直在帮我们做一些稍微的调整，就然后我们最后就拿下了今天的胜利。
So Karsa's answer is that all of our players on the individual level have had a lot of problems, and our coaching staff has tried a lot to help us recover, and we just took down the victory today. My second question for you, Karsa, you are known as the Lion King, one of the best Rengar players LMS has produced. Can you tell us why Rengar is in such a high priority in this series today, and why is Rengar picked over Sejuani? Karsa, 我想问你，就是你之前的话，其实有是 LMS 的狮子王之称这样子。那为什么狮子狗现在这个这么的夯，然后他的选的顺序甚至比猪妹还高呢？
其实。因为在这个系列赛，我们两边打野都是擅长玩狮子狗的玩家，然后就是我们可能会在一些野区作战的时候会用狮子狗比较顺利。然后其实我觉得现在任何打野都可以就去使用，所以就也没有说它比也没有说它比射装你的那个顺位高，但就是看是哪一支玩得好，你可以选哪一支。
So Karsa's answer is that it's mainly because both of the junglers, Karsa himself and SKS, are very good on Rengar, and that's a better pick that allows him to go into the jungle and kind of find skirmishes there. I feel like in this patch, there's not really a specific order to junglers. You can play a lot of them, and it's really about like who are you comfortable on and which champion you are better on. So my third question for you, Karsa, is what type of RNG can we expect after the Chinese New Year? Karsa， 我最后一个想问你的问题是，过年之后我们可以期待一个到底是什么样子的 RNG？ 怎么样的 RNG 是你心目中应该要有的样子？
就是很强的 RNG 吧，因为就是在我加入 RNG 之前，我就觉得 RNG 是一支很强的队伍嘛，就是所以我希望我来以后我也能在这里学到更多，然后让 RNG 变得更强。
Karsa's answer is fairly simple. He says he wants to see a very strong RNG. Before I entered this team, RNG was already a very powerful team. When I'm here, I want to learn more and be powerful with the team. With them as well. So that will be our interview here. Thank you very much. Guys, don't go anywhere. We have WE versus Rogue Warrior next coming straight up.
But before that, it's us. We're coming back to the analyst desk. And we are going to talk a little bit about... Now, Karsa talking about, like, wants to just become a better jungler as well coming into this team. We know just, like, you know, behind the screen, he's talking about, like, this is a very different league to play in. And it's just, like, very much has to adapt to how the LPL plays. Because it is very different from the LMS. Like, you have to change your play style. You can't just sit back and, like, make sure this play will 100% work. Like, you think about Flash Wolves as a team, like, they make sure that everything is set up so they can make for the play. And then the LPL, it's just like, no, we can probably outplay them. Let's just go for it.
It's also a vastly different scale of competition in terms of just the sheer size of the leagues. The fact that Karsa was head and shoulders, you know, the Mufasa of the LMS, the best jungler that they've ever produced, and then he comes into the LPL, and while he's a formidable force internationally, you're now competing with legendary junglers in their own right that are scattered, littered through this league, like Condi, you know, Clearlove if he ever comes back, Ning, and even MLX Sheen as counterpoint when he decides that he doesn't want to be MLXD. So I think it's also just a new level of competition that Karsa is entering, where he's no longer just the big fish in the little pond.
And he's also playing against some legends himself, right? You have Xiaohu in the mid lane, who's going to be picking up our MVP as well for this series. And he plays incredibly well all the time. Like, Xiaohu is just a monster in his own right, and he's also got to live up to these standards.
Yeah, it's no Maple, but Xiaohu can certainly hold his own there. A bit more of the lane dominance. But yeah, I agree. It's just a very different atmosphere, and he's unfortunately kind of competing uphill in my opinion, because MLXG already has that established groundwork with the team. We hear him talk about his friendship with Xiaohu. They are very closely connected. They've been jungle duo mid for a very long time. So Karsa's kind of playing from the back foot there, and hopefully if he keeps putting up performances, we'll start to see more of him in the LPL, because I think he's a great player and he's super fun to watch.
Especially from what we've seen here today as well. It would be nice to see RNG also play with other people on their roster like Karsa, because they have so much talent behind the main roster as well, and we've seen how different their playstyle can be. So maybe in the future, you know, that roster can actually bring out more from them.
Yep.
We'll see if that is the case. We are going to send it to a quick break, though, before we head into our next series of the day.